All right, first up in the morning rush now, cracking down on crime.
That's right. People in one local town say the state needs to do more after an uptick in criminal activity around town.
Channel 3 New Haven Bureau Chief Matt McFarland is now live in North Branford, right outside the town hall, with the details. So, Matt, what's going on in North Branford?
Good morning there, Nicole and Roger. Well, North Branford's Town Council passed a resolution earlier this week asking the governor and the legislature to act. Now, this resolution comes on the heels of a North Branford homeowner actually getting shot at earlier this month while interrupting a broad daylight burglary in which thieves were trying to steal his car. Councilors say there have been a number of recent incidents around town, from stolen cars to break-ins and robberies. And with the support of the town's police chief, the resolution asks legislators to put in place mandatory minimum sentences for armed robberies involving an occupied motor vehicle. They also want to see increased penalties for crimes committed using a stolen motor vehicle. Now, copies of the resolution were sent to the governor, legislative leaders, and also members of North Branford's Senate and House delegation. We're live at the mobile newsroom in North Branford. Matt McFarland, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Matt. And